Welcome back to Great Mondays Radio. I am so excited to have on with us today Jackie Edge, who is a culture and engagement specialist at Avicado Construction Technology. So, Jackie, you are 100% remote organization, and you have an explicit role for culture and engagement. Now, normally, culture and engagement is somebody else's job or someone's job that happened to get it in addition to what they're supposed to do during the day. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do and why a company in construction technology needs someone in culture and engagement?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on. And so sort of my journey through Avicado has been, I started as an executive assistant, and then in that role, I kind of naturally had some culture responsibilities with it. And so from there, my role has grown. It went through marketing phase. I was involved in a lot of the marketing. And then during that time, it was seen that role needed to split a little bit. And so we've always had a really strong focus on our culture. And it was something that I really enjoyed personally. So lucky for me, it kind of all the stars aligned, and it was, hey, you need someone to head this direction, and something that we always want to prioritize with our team. So I was able to kind of step in and fill that role. So that's kind of how I ended up in this space here. And I really focus on getting to make sure our team has plenty of opportunities to connect with one another and making sure that they are enjoying their jobs. And we really focus on making it a great place to work, and just making it fun and allowing people to show up as themselves and be authentic and really create those genuine connections.
So if your job is about connection, creating these connections, and there's a lot of organizations that are either going fully distributed or for the first time or hybrid, what would you say in your learning here, right, your growth path, you have discovered is a really good way to help a fully distributed or distributed company create and build on those connections?
Yeah, so I think it really comes to people being able to bring their own personalities into work. So I think where we've had a lot of success is with our weekly happy hours. So instead of just having a happy hour and just saying, okay, everyone, let's mingle and let's chat, but asking like good icebreaker questions where people can, make a connection on something. Or, we found early on that our team just really loves dogs. So we've done a lot of dog themed events that get people interested. And then that's how people come in. Who doesn't want to go to a pet talent show? And then you have the same dog as someone else. So then you form a connection there. And it's just kind of like those avenues that really help people learn more about one another. And I think it's like a very welcoming environment. So if someone posts, we use Slack to communicate. We have several different Slack groups. And so if someone posts like, hey, have you heard this band or this song? It's not just going to be a couple emojis. People are going to respond and engage. And it's sort of built into the culture just because we've created those connections that you're not alone in this. So you can make these posts, you can kind of reach out on a limb, and it's going to be received on the other end. And I think that's a big part of it. It's kind of like built into the environment of like a supportive and like curious group of people.
So what I hear you saying is by facilitating these connections and identifying some commonalities, you're building those the relationships that then actually seem to build on themselves.
Yes, exactly. The organic nature of it is definitely something that I really love to see. And then we have, a couple other ways as well. So we have everything like avocado theme. So we have a group called Pit Pals. And so this is a peer-to-peer mentoring program. So people will fill out a survey. They'll talk about what they're interested in, whether, what they like to do for fun. We'll evaluate those and we'll pair people together. And so it's really cool because if, you're new to the organization, you said, I would like to get to know more people. You can join this program. We'll pair you up with someone, and then you automatically have a friend, and you can kind of, the commonalities are already there, and then there you go. The rest is history. You're not alone from that moment on.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of executives, and the complaints, I would say, or the reasoning for bringing people back to the office is, well, we can't do mentorship. We can't do, the building those relationships when we're remote. And it sounds like that is a good starting point for what you've described, or what you've developed is pairing people up so that they actually have an intentional, stronger connection with somebody in the organization. Now, you did say, what are you interested in? But then what are your, but also, is it part of it is like, what are your challenges, or what are your skill sets, or what do you want to learn? Or is it just like, oh, I also like dogs, or whatever it might be? Are you seeing the ability to actually do some real mentoring for the job? Does that come out of this?
Yes, it definitely does. So we ask, what areas are you looking to develop in? And then, we'll get, are you interested in a more social connection or a more professional connection? Or so, for example, if someone's saying, I'd really love to get my PMP, we're saying, okay, who do we
What's that?
know? Your project management professional, like
Degree? It's like
certification.
it's certification. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
right. Yes, sorry.
certification.
Please.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we'll pair them with somebody else who maybe already has had that or recently gone through that. And so it's interesting because my argument would sort of be, versus in the remote world versus the office world, is in some ways you're able to make greater connections, because if you're in these channels, so to speak, or you post something into a channel asking a question, you're really opening the doors to, possibly the entire organization. Whereas often in the office, at least from my experience, it's you kind of stick within your department or the people in the desks near you. So you can go out a little bit further with your reach through the remote environment. But then again, I do see both sides, but I would say if I were to make an argument, that would be that there is some greater reach there as well.
And what is the expected pacing or cadence of the Pit Pals? So it's like, is there because there are programs like this, there's Slack plugins, and the fall off can be pretty hard sometimes. So is there accountability? Like, just to kind of nerd out about this, because I do think this is a big challenge that people are facing.
Yeah, definitely. So we keep it, we kind of say in the messaging, like, it's really entirely up to you and your pair how far you want to take it. And we say the minimum we recommend is meeting at least once a month. So set up your monthly calendar, and then every quarter or every month we send a newsletter as well. So we'll say like Pit Pal newsletter just goes into the Slack channel, and it says, here's some questions to ask. And I think that's where I've learned it's better to provide more information for people to take into those, to say, okay, we have a list of questions. It's way less intimidating than like, what are we going to talk about? Or how do I bring up the professional
Yeah,
side? And that's
right.
already kind of all prepared for them to go in and feel super comfortable in those conversations.
And is there some sort of accountability? Do you do check-ins? Is there part of your like annual, HR review? It's like, oh, how, and by the way, how's the Pit Pals how's your Pit Pal going?
No, we don't have any like formal check-in. We do have a pit pair of the month. So we select two people that are really enjoying the program and kind of just highlight it in the front of like, this is a great benefit. It's something that can really help you. And we want you to choose to do it. We're not going to kind of check in on you for that. It's really what you put into it is what you'll get out of it.
And I love that. Okay, so I like a lot, because you're celebrating. Not only are you giving permission, but you're celebrating this program in a way that reminds and encourages engagement in the program without holding people accountable. To me, this is both, this Pit Pals is in the kind of Great Mondays parlance, is both a ritual, right, but also a cue. It's this the pit pair of the month is a cue. It's like, hey, don't forget, this is something that's happening and we believe in this. We want you to take the time, right? One of the other complaints that I see is like, I am just so slammed and it's not even that important, whatever. But if we're continuing to build that, I think that becomes really, really powerful. Awesome. Okay, moving on, wins and fails. So tell me, do you have a story about an amazing culture win where you're like, learned a lesson, and we can learn just as much from a fail, that you're like, well, that was a fun experiment, but I'll never do that again. Do you have anything that you can share with our audience might learn from that?
Yeah, so I think one thing, and I'll kind of bring it back to our happy hour conversation a little bit, because we've taken that and we've really evolved it. It started as a tradition, as you mentioned. That was when it was 2 people at the organization, and built into that, we have like a celebration aspect. So early on, be a small group of us, and we would give out bravicados. So I'd say, I'd like to give Josh a bravicado because he started this podcast and he's doing awesome. Like, keep up the good work. And and so we would go around and each give a bravicado. But now we're over 100 people or 120 people. And so we're like, how can we scale this? And so through several adaptations, and how can we make happy hour valuable with 120 people on the call?
Yeah.
So we had been utilizing breakout rooms and a lot of games and activities. But through different feedback, we realized that the team wanted to connect with each other more frequently. So we would, throughout an entire month, we would have one group that always got together with the same people. So each breakout room would be the same for the entirety of the month. We call it the happy hour homies. So you spend your month with your homies and you get to know each other a little bit more. And then your next month, you get to meet your new homies and get to know them a little bit more. So you're really kind of mixing the pot, and everyone is randomly put into these groups. But then we had to figure out what to do with our bravicados. So what we did there was we built a Slack app, and through that, now we have just a Slack channel that has everyone just celebrating one another and kind of reinforcing, as you had mentioned before, reinforcing the celebrations. And then we have them tied to some of the things we focus on, like our community guidelines, essentially a version of our core values. And so we're really reinforcing celebrating one another through the things that we believe in as an organization. And I think that's had a really big impact on the team.
Wow, that's great. That's very cool. So you have a Bravocado plugin, Slack plugin, and people can celebrate one another specifically or explicitly in the channel. Do you have little Bravocado emojis?
We do. So
yes,
you
nailed
can
it.
tell. Of course we do.
Yeah. That's great. That's very cool. I do have one of my clients, once we had launched values for them, they created a little emoji for each one of the values, like relating back to whatever their character is or their mascot or something like that. And it popped up whenever you did #value1, it would always just pop up. So that's what I picture in that. It's something like that, right?
Oh yes, definitely. Each one, and it's linked to the page that talks about it. So it's all interconnected with the images.
I love it. All right. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Cross-reference. Cool. Well, as we wrap up, any other final pieces of advice or things that you've learned over the years here, Avocado, and in your role as someone who has essentially taken on the mantle of, chief culture officer in a way. It's like not often do companies have explicit roles, like I said. So I think this is a really, insightful evolution, right? Whomever's helping you make that choice, I think is obviously, I believe, I think is the right thing. So anything else, final thoughts, one more story that you could share?
Yeah, I think, I'll kind of take it to a little bit of a personal story, as far as, when I first started my career, I very much felt like my professional life and my personal life were two different people. They weren't really merged together. And I think, especially starting with Avicado, that's really shifted a lot for me as far as they've come together and really connected. And I feel as though I show up to work as myself, and I've made greater and stronger connections in networking because of that. And, one of our community guidelines is like, have fun and be yourself. And I think that's definitely something that we really focus on the culture side. So I think is like a key takeaway. And where I take accountability is, am I providing opportunities for people to be themselves? So,
Mm.
we've done like cool shirt happy hour. So people show up in their cool shirt. It's something to talk about. And that's something you can do in the office. Like, hey, today's cool shirt day. And then you learn, oh, so and so did an Ironman, or, really allowing people to bring who they are. And I think there's just a ton of value. And we've learned so much from our team. And, some of them who have gotten PhDs have been teaching us things as well. And I think, your people are your best asset. And it's always good for them to show up as they are every single day.
Amazing. Jackie Edge, thank you so much. Culture and engagement, Chief of Culture and Engagement at Avicado Construction Technology. You can find out more at avicado, avicado.com. Jackie, thank you so much for coming on the pod. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.